Morning everyone, my name is Miss Daly and for today's assembly I'm going to be talking to you about mental health and emotional well-being. In today's assembly we're going to be thinking about two things in particular: healthy ways to manage difficult feelings or challenging situations, and the pros and cons of using social media during these difficult times. Over the past 7 months you will have experienced the most unusual year of your life. You've lived through a national lockdown in which you weren't able to leave home and had to learn from home. Since lockdown, you've had to get to grips with new and changing rules for living and interacting with others. In September, you started back at school, where some things have been similar, but there have been some changes also. All these changes can lead to some understandable worries, stress, and from some of us, some anxieties. Therefore, it is important to think about and explore strategies for managing difficult feelings caused by these challenging circumstances. People experience emotions at a variety of levels over time, and the way they manage these emotions can change based on context and the level of emotion they might be experiencing at that time. I want you to have a think about the two questions on the board. I'm going to read them, and I want you to take a couple of seconds just to think what you would say. Is feeling intense emotions every now and again a problem? And when might intense emotions actually become a problem? Feeling intense emotions every now and again is not necessarily a problem. For example, occasionally feeling furious for a good reason is not necessarily a problem. However, if someone has extreme feelings, an overwhelming number of negative feelings, experience these feelings for no apparent reason, or more often than they should, they may need more support. For example, they may need to speak to someone they trust, or they could ask for help from some of the organisations signposted at the end of this lesson. There are many different ways of coping with intense feelings, so it's important for us to consider all the options so we can choose which strategies work best for us. On the screen now are just some of the things people might do when they're experiencing challenging times or feeling stressed and anxious. It might be the case that when people are worried, they might want to release some of that anxiety or some of that stress. So they might want to do something really physical, like do some exercise or use a stress ball. They might want to write a letter, not necessarily a letter that they'll send to anyone, but a letter that they'll write so they get their emotions out and then they'll rip it up and throw it away. Other people like to change their mood when they feel stressed or worried, so they might do this by trying to relax. They might choose to take a bath, read a book, or listen to music that puts them in a happy mood. Some people choose to use mindfulness apps online. This helps them to meditate and is a great way for shifting their moods. It's important to remember that different techniques will appeal to different people. Trying a range of strategies can help a person to find out what works best for them. At the end of this assembly, I'll give you a chance to look at the previous slide again so you can have a discussion about that. But for now, we're going to move on to looking at ways of coping using online. If a person's healthy coping strategy involves something online, they may need to weigh up the pros and cons of being online and social media. This is because there are a range of ways this can influence well-being. There are many benefits to using social media. It's a great way to speak with people from around the world and share interests. It's fun, cheap and easy, and these days it's the most used means of communication. People can feel like they can express themselves freely. It might give them confidence to be who they want to be. And in addition, it can be used to access support groups and help with well-being, like the meditation apps I've just talked about. There are, however, challenges when it comes to using social media. As I said, communication is a great thing, but being in constant communication with others can be exhausting, especially when we're thinking about issues such as peer pressure or cyberbullying. The type of bullying that happens online also can be at times a lot worse, as people behave differently when they are online compared when they are face to face. Another problem with using social media is sleep deprivation. The light in our phone is similar to sunlight, so it tricks our mind into thinking that it's daytime, so this makes us feel more active and alert when we should be getting tired and sleeping. In addition to this, if we're scrolling online and using social media, it can be the case that we can come across some upsetting content accidentally. As I said before, there are lots of benefits to using social media. However, there are the downsides. So it's important that we have a few tips and tricks to help us when those downsides start to impede upon our day. So top tip number 1, have a break. You wouldn't spend all day talking to people in real life, so why would you do it on the phone? Choose when it's a good time for you to talk and communicate with others, not when it's good for someone else. So put the phone down and have a break. Number 2, turn your notifications off. Social media companies get paid tons by advertisers to keep you online and keep you scrolling. Therefore, the social media apps that you use have been created in a way to keep you hooked, so that you're constantly on the phone. That's why you're always receiving updates on what YouTube video you should watch next or what's happened on Instagram. Turning your notifications off will stop this from happening, and you get to have more time back to yourself. Receiving negative messages or accidentally viewing negative content or inappropriate content online is never a good thing. So talk to the adults that you trust about these messages. You can speak to your parents or carers, teachers or dolls. They are all here to protect and support you. As I mentioned in the last slide, using your phone too much can lead to sleep deprivation. And an easy way to overcome this is to turn down the brightness on your phone. Really easy. It will stop your brain from being tricked into thinking it's daytime, and you'll get a much better night's sleep. And finally, what's better than that at all is just don't take your phone to bed. Leave your phone, device, whatever it may be, in a different room, and you're guaranteed a good night's sleep that way. Stress, worry, and anxiety is something that happens to all of us. When this assembly is finished, I'm going to get you to revisit the coping strategies that we looked at, and I want you to have a discussion in pairs about which strategy you think would best suit you and in which circumstances. And just one final thing from me. Many of you will feel comfortable seeking support from your parents, carers, from the dolls, or from your teachers. Other of you might want to use some further support, and there's lots of places out there that will help you with emotional well-being, social media, or just to discuss your feelings. 3 of some of the best organisations are Childline, Young Minds, and the Samaritans. You can phone them, or you can contact them via the website. If you feel like you are in a serious crisis, text SHOUT to 85258. Thank you for listening to the assembly. I hope you have a wonderful day. There are many different ways of coping with intense feelings, so it's important for us to consider all the options so we can choose which strategies work best for us. On the screen now are just some of the things people might do when they're experiencing challenging times or feeling stressed and anxious. It might be the case that when people are worried, they might want to release some of that anxiety or some of that stress. So they might want to do something really physical, like do some exercise or use a stress ball. They might want to write a letter, not necessarily a letter that they'll send to anyone, but a letter that they'll write so they get their emotions out and then they'll rip it up and throw it away. Other people like to change their mood when they feel stressed or worried, so they might do this by trying to relax. They might choose to take a bath, read a book, or listen to music that puts them in a happy mood. Some people choose to use mindfulness apps online. This helps them to meditate and is a great way for shifting their moods.